I had just come back from my second term of duty into the WWF back then,
Hmm.
and they were just going into the WWF when Junior took over. I still call him Junior. Call him
Call him
Vinny.
what you want.
His dad called him Vinny, and anyway, uh, I came back and when I left, Mr. McMahon Sr. said, "It's time for you to go." And I said, "Did I do something wrong?" And he goes, "No, you're doing everything right. I just don't want you to be here the first time too long. I want people to see you, but then I want them to beg to have you come back." And so I left and went to Charlotte, and that's when as I was saying, I won the NWA US title. Uh, but then when I came back up, I was still that ruthless, tough Marine drill instructor that the villain and everybody,
Mhm.
hated that character. And so the first hour, or the first three shows, I was the villain, and we went out to do the old McMahon little get together. You have dinner and some drinks, and Pat Patterson and Arnie Skolin
Mhm.
and a bunch of the guys, Gorilla Monsoon and Lou Albano and a few of the others that were invited to go. And so Vince McMahon Sr. never called me Bob or Robert or Sergeant Slaughter. He only called me Sergeant. And he goes, "Sergeant, it's so good to have you back. You're the greatest villain of all time." And just patted me on the back and just made my ego go through the roof of that restaurant. And I said, "Well, Mr. McMahon, I really appreciate that. But if you think I'm such a good villain, you ought to see me as a hero." And he went, "Sergeant Slaughter as a hero? No, Sergeant. No way. You couldn't ever be a hero. It might work for a couple of months, but then it'll just fade off and it'll be pretty difficult for you to do that anyway." He said, "But what do
Mm.
you got in mind?" you know.
Mhm.
And so I started out, I kind of rehearsed it a little bit. And I said, "Well, you got the Iron Sheik here,
Mhm.
and from Iran. And we never really got to punch Ayatollah Khomeini right in the nose for all that he did." And I went through the hostage situation and the killing of the Marines at the embassy and the Black Hawks going down. And I went through the whole thing and I kind of like hypnotized him because he was he's hearing me with his mouth kind of wide open. And then finally, he kind of snapped out of it. He said, "Oh, that was good, Sergeant, but you almost had me there, but like I said, that only worked for a little while." And I look over his shoulder, and there's Vince, the guy that's taken over, and
Mhm.
he's got his thumbs up, giving me the yeah, yeah. And Mr. McMahon turns around and says, "Vinny, don't you ever turn the sergeant into a hero. It won't work. Won't work." "Okay,
Wow.
pops. Okay, pops. Let's go." And so the next time we could do TV in Allentown 3 weeks later, because we always did three tapings, and I go off the first match, I'm the villain. Second match, I'm the villain. Third match, I'm not even the first third hour, I'm not even scheduled to be on. So I'm taking my boots off, and here comes Vince Jr. And he goes, "Sarge, you ready?" And I said, "I'm always ready. Vince, what do you want?" He said, "What you and my dad talked about a couple of weeks ago, remember?" And I said, "You mean about going against the Iron Sheik?" He goes, "Yeah." "You want to do it?" And I said, "Yeah." "When do you want to do it? Next time?" He said, "No, I want to do it now." And I
Mm.
said, "Now?" He goes, "Right now, in 2 minutes, 5 minutes." He
Okay.
said, "Only you and I and the truck are going to know about it because I don't want Blassie to know. Ayatollah Blassie, I don't want him to know. I don't want Iron Sheik to know. I wanted the element of surprise. I'm not even to tell the referees, or
Oh,
anybody."
wow.
And he said, "I'm not going to tell Pat Patterson, who's going to be doing the commentary." And I said, "Okay, great." He said, when they play the Marine Corps hymn, you go out and give me your best General Patton promo against Cosgrove." I said, "Okay." So I'm trying to scramble to find my gear, and one of the ring guys took my campaign cover and put it somewhere. I couldn't find it. And so I just grabbed the Marine baseball cap, put it on my head, and pretty soon this music started playing. And I was watching the monitor before I, went out, and I could see Iron Sheik and Blassie. I could read their lips. They're going, wrong music, wrong music. They're playing Sergeant music, you know. And I don't even know if the Sheik had music, but they're just like, what's going? They thought it was a blooper. They figured,
Right.
not something went wrong. So here I come, and I blow my whistle, and I got the Sgt Slaughter look on my face, and pretty soon the people are like, "What's Sarge doing out here?" And as soon as we got closer, the Sheik and I did a little jawing match, and we didn't touch each other. We just jawed each other, and I got in the ring, and Eddie Gilbert was in the ring with the Sheik, and he would beat him to a pulp, and they were putting him on a stretcher, and so I helped to get him out of the ring. And so I grabbed the microphone, and I kept thinking what Vince said, give me your best General Patton promo. So I grabbed the microphone, and I said, Iron Sheik, I declare war on you. And people are like, yeah, yeah,
That's
getting
awesome.
with it. So I said, there's something I've done since I was a little boy in school, in high school, and in my athletics and the Cub Scouts and the Boy Scouts and in the Marine Corps. And I put my hand on my heart and I started doing the Pledge of Allegiance. And those people jumped off those chairs, or out of their chairs, stood on their chairs, and put the lighters in the air, and they're doing the Pledge of Allegiance along with me. I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it.
That's
But
awesome.
anyway, and it was all in unison, and as soon as they got done, I went to USA, and they started chanting USA, USA, and I got back to the dressing room, and Vince Jr. comes running in and hugs me. He says, I can't believe what you just did. I can't believe what you just did. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, Vince, you show me your side of the business. I'll show you our side of the business. And he said,
Wow.
you'll be farting through silk the rest of your life. And he said, I like that idea. I like that idea. So it didn't take long. By the time the next TV came, I had all this, I had like 8 uh, bags of canvas bags of mail from
Mhm.
fans that they're sending me their anybody that was in the Marines or in the Army or the Navy or the Air Force, anything that they wore, they were sending it to me to sign and send back to them. And can I have a picture? Can I have it? And it just was an instant. I don't think it's ever been done before, but then the phone call started from Hasbro. Hasbro
Mhm.
calls. We're going in a different direction. We've never had a real live character. We're looking for an ambassador to go to the Toys R Us and the children's hospitals
Wow.
and to the veterans hospitals, and we like you to be the guy. So I went up to Pawtucket, Rhode Island, and had a meeting with him. Came back, couldn't wait to see Vince, to tell him the good news that I was going to be on GI Joe and professional wrestling. And WrestleMania 1 was just beginning at that time,
Mhm.
1984, 85.
Mhm.
And so he got there, and I told him what had happened, and he goes, pal, he pats me on the back, pal, that's a hell of a thing you did, but I can't let you do it. I said, what do you mean? Why can't I do it? He said, well, I just signed a contract with LJN yesterday,
Oh no.
and that's our toy company, and that would be a conflict of interest to have Hasbro. I said, LJ what? LJ, don't even say the 3 letters. He said, LJN, LJN. I said, I've never heard of him. Hasbro's the largest boys selling toy in the world.
Mhm.
You're going to say no? He goes, I'm sorry, I can't do it. So I would pester him and pester him and pester him. Finally, he came to me and said, hey, that's it. You want to go, go. But I can't let you be a both. So he figured I would just, because WrestleMania was originally, I don't know if Jimmy, if you were aware of it, but it was supposed to be Hulk Hogan and I against Piper and Orndorff.
Orndorff.
That was the original plan
Mhm.
to be the first WrestleMania in Madison Square Garden. So I didn't really know if it was going to happen or not, but I was still, wanting to do GI Joe because I thought it'd be a great thing. And he finally said, "Sarge, if you want to go, go. Otherwise, quit talking to me about it." And as I said, he thought I would stay. And so I was, having dinner with my wife, my children one night, and she said, "What is your problem? You're not being sociable. You're not doing. You're pouting. What's wrong with you?" And I told her the story. She said, "Bob, you can always be a professional wrestler. You can't always be the first living GI Joe."
Absolutely.
Mhm.
She said, and I said, "That's why you get the big bucks, honey." So next day I called Vince and told him I was leaving, and he said, "No, I'm not accepting your resignation. You're not leaving. You're staying." And I said, "No, I'm leaving." And of course, all hell broke loose, and
Mhm.
we had all kinds of problems and lawsuits. He sued me, I sued him, and because he thought he owned the name Sgt Slaughter, but I had trademarked it back in 1975, but he didn't know. He didn't know
Oh.
that. And I had completely forgot about it till my attorney said, "Is your name trademarked?" I said, "Well, back in 75, I signed some papers." He said, "Well, we need to find that out." So when we found that I owned it, then that was really
Mm.
the straw that broke the camel's back, as
Yeah.
they say.
So
And
you
off
were
I went, and I was so, pissed off with the WWF at that time. I never even watched the show for like 6 years, and just didn't even want to have anything to do with it. AWA called me and said, "You want to come work for us?" I said, "Well, you let me promote GI Joe and Hasbro." "Yeah, well, I'm on my way."
That's
So I ended
awesome.
up, but I was the first one really that was a name that got on the independent circuit.
Mhm.
And I was making more money doing that than I was with the WWF.
It's
Doing appearances and signing autographs and wrestling, and yeah, it was just, and I was home quite a bit, so it was really a nice deal.